The Captain's Log Radio, with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, welcome to the Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. With me today, I've got a guy that is the man to book when it comes to fishing offshore in a big sporty, in a Sportfish. Captain Mark DiDario, how are you, my friend?
Good, man. It's really good to see you. It's been a minute.
Absolutely. You know, the first time I ever got offshore in a sporty was with Mark. And, think of it as a kid growing up and watching fishing on TV and seeing these guys going out in these giant boats with these big outriggers and the cabins. And I didn't like going to the doctor or the dentist growing up, but they always had these magazines with like for sale ads of these big sport fish. And every time I'd go, I'd like, I'm gonna go through every one of these and dream about having one of these boats. And Mark, you're living that dream, dude.
I am finally. It's taken a long time to get here, but through a lot of perseverance and pressure, we're doing it. We're
Yeah,
doing it every day. So
absolutely.
it's
Well, pressure makes the diamond, bro, and you are absolutely crushing it. And you
Appreciate that.
see, are you running the two boats or you got just the one now?
No, we have two. I have them split between more South Florida and a little closer to the central area. We did have both of them in the same area, but it just wasn't feasible to work two boats in the same spot. So I did my research. I was I rolled the dice because I found two spots I really wanted to be, but we ended up in the Palm Beach area and with the big boat, and I can't be any more happier with the drive that the new marina that we're in there has been amazing. And then the people and the clients, they when they want to fish, they'll come find you. I've come to realize that it doesn't matter where you are, within reason that they will find you.
Yeah. So let's talk about these two boats, where they're located, and the style of fishing that you offer out of these big sport fish.
Well, I'll start with the original kind of OG boat. That's Real Naughty. It's a 46 Hatteras copy. It is it's been my workhorse. Since I bought that boat, as soon as I got my permits, that boat went to work the next day.
Hmm.
And it continues to amaze me at how many hours we put on that thing, just changing oil and fuel filters, and it keeps on going. Probably going to shoot myself in the foot after I just said that, but
I know, I know exactly that feeling.
yeah, do the sign of the cross before you turn the key now. But with that boat, we offer a whole bunch of different trips. We call that more of our budget friendly boat. Our trips start out under $1,000 for 4 hours, and we supply everything when it comes to tackle, gear. We don't do any add-ons other than live bait on that boat. So, when you step foot on the boat, you get water, snacks. The air conditioning is free. uh, you know, Bait, tackle, anything you need to go fishing that day, we include. And we try to do that with all the boats that we run. I don't, growing up watching my friends go offshore, and the next thing you know, they get back to the dock and their charters are a little more expensive because they weren't ready for, fuel burn and things like that. We're pretty lucky here in South Florida where we fish and how we fish that we don't have to go very far, as you know.
Yeah.
You were actually really surprised that we were fishing as close to shore as we do.
Literally,
But
you're fishing and you can see what people are eating for lunch on the beach. It
yeah, it's
just
pretty cool.
blows my mind. You're what, a couple of miles off and you're in a couple 100 feet of water?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. We get a lot of the phone calls, for guests saying, "Oh, well, I kind of have to work, and I'm here with my family, but my boss thinks I'm on call." I'm like, "You'll have plenty of cell phone service. I promise you." As a matter of fact, we can get you back to shore before you even know it. Um, so yeah, with Real Naughty, we do 4, 6, and 8 hour trips. We offer the traditional trolling style slash planer fishing that we do here in South Florida. We do bottom fish. We also do a lot of live baiting. Um, especially this time of year. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But when people see the sailfish ads start popping up, that's all they want. And we try to dangle those live baits in front of their face for them. But we
Yeah.
do all sorts of trips on that, uh, which has been really good for us because this way we can target a lot of diverse clients, and we can also offer multiple ways of fishing in one trip. So if the baits aren't working while we're trolling, we can go to the bottom, catch dinner, or go back to that trophy style of fishing. And that's why, my business is called Father and Son Sport Fishing for a couple different reasons. And one being that we're Italian, so we kind of offer that family style sport fishing, so you can bring mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, and the kids, up to six people, obviously. But and we can target a bunch of different things in shorter amount of times, especially because we don't have to go very far here. So, some of these, we get the dad trips where it's a couple families together and they're back to their families before most of them have even woken up.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that
Uh,
boat is located where?
that's in Deerfield Beach. We're sailing
Okay.
out of the Cove restaurant, which is awesome because, once we get back to the dock there, you have beer, wine, a full liquor bar. They cook your catch for you.
Cool.
Um, and we have a really good working relationship with the Cove. We fish some of their tournaments as well. And they're very, 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 very nice to my clients as well. You
Is
can't.
is that where Dennis Friel just painted a mural on it on the wall?
Yeah, right at the gas
Cool.
dock. Yes, yes, he
Cool.
did.
Awesome. Yeah. No, Dennis is a good friend and he's an incredible artist. And I saw the whole process of him painting that. And I swear I kept reading the Cove. And as you mentioned, I was like, I bet the same place, but sure enough, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we would usually get there before he showed up for work. I don't think he was painting in the dark, but it's awesome. It's
Cool.
the pictures don't do it justice. We'll say that his artwork is probably one of the best around.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, that's the boat that we went out on. And you mentioned, and we'll get more into our episode later, but you mentioned the AC, and I'm not used to that. And when we need AC on my boat, we reel in the lines and go for a quick ride to get some airflow, and then that's our AC. But for us, it was a summer day. It was warm,
Oh
and we're
yeah.
trolling, and dude, you could just walk inside the cabin and cool off for a second, get in front of that vent, and okay, I feel good. Get back out there, dude. I mean, that's an experience for me when we're fishing.
Yeah, and it's even nice, if you do bring kids or whatever, we can stick them inside on the couch and they can get kind of comfortable, readjust, and then bring them back outside, or they can watch through the window. And as soon as the rods go off, they come running out the door.
Yeah.
That's we experimented in between the sporties and stuff. We had some center consoles and we ran both boats and did numbers and crushed back and forth. And I was raised on sport fishes. That's how
Mm.
my life started, So doing that, a lot of guys always say, oh, you're such a young guy. What are you doing running a big boat like that? It's just how I was raised, uh, living the dream as a kid, sitting in the fighting chair, watching marlin jump and the big
Oh,
tunas. So when I came down here and we got the opportunity to start, I start this business and whatnot, the sporty was the first route I was going.
mm,
And it continues to work for us and I'm gonna stick with it as long as I can.
that's awesome. When did you get your captain's license?
So I am on my third renewal,
Okay.
uh, on a 200 ton now. I went back to school and told myself I wasn't going to do it, but I did it. And yeah, so I'm on my I'm 3 years into my third renewal on my
Awesome.
license. And,
Awesome.
and for the people that don't know, there's 7 year expirations. So
Well, that's awesome, dude. I got my master's license when I went in and took the class, took the test, just in case that opportunity arose where I needed to work on a big boat or if I was running The guy who taught our class, Captain Jack was his name, and he had a service where he would relocate boats and he would only hire captains with the master's captain's license. So I went and got my master's just in case I wanted to go that route or do something different for a couple months. And now that I have kids, I can't do something like that. But um, dude, I love those big boats. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. They're comfortable. And you said it, bring in the whole family. You know, your grandparents might not want to get out and get in that fighting chair and fight a fish, but they might want to be there and experience and see
It's
the
all about,
grandkids, and they
we
can
love the
do that in a
memories.
boat that boat. Absolutely.
Again, we're a family-based business, right? My dad is constantly in the engine room with me, uh, you know, changing exploitive deleted words. Um, and my mom helps us with payroll and the books.
Yeah.
My parents we call them three quarters retired because, they can't sit still. So
Yeah.
I drag them, or just today, my dad and I worked, almost 7 hours in the engine room of the other boat, just cleaning, maintenance, all the stuff that we got to do, day in and day out. It's not just always about fishing, unfortunately, as everybody
Yeah.
says. So which brings us to the other boat, which is an relatively dream boat of mine. Growing up doing what we do and stuff, a big classic Carolina boat was I never thought was in reach. Never thought was something that I would even be able to touch, back then. And through some partnerships and whatnot, we were able to seal the deal on the 61 Buddy Davis. We've
Yeah.
had that a
Mm.
little over 3.5 years now. First almost year we spent doing a refit on that boat.
Yeah. Has it been
Well,
3.5 years already? Wow.
yes, yeah,
I
yes, it
feel like you
has.
just got that boat, but I do remember all the amount of time and the posting I think that you were doing with that boat. I completely get that. Boat break out another 1,000.
Oh
There
yeah,
as full-time guides and anglers and being on the water 200 plus days a year, things break, things happen, and you don't realize it being the angler or booking the charter, how much goes into it. When we get back, we're going to talk more with Captain Mark about sporties, about fishing offshore, learn more about his story right here on the Captain's Log Radio. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
This is the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. I got Captain Mark DiDario with me today. Before we continue this conversation with Captain Mark, I want to connect with you. I want to see everything you're doing out on the water. I want to see what you're catching. Hey, if you're not into fishing, but you love the outdoors, hiking, camping, hunting, still want to follow along and tag along with your adventures. So make sure that you are liking, subscribing, you're commenting, you're following all those things on social media at the Captain's Log TV on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, at the Captain's Log TV. That'll keep you up to date on everything we got going there. And if you're into the YouTube side, please subscribe, hit that bell. It'll give you notifications. But we want to just thank you for being here on the Outdoor Radio Network, listening to the Captain's Log Radio. And as you know, after this show airs, it'll be live. It'll be available for you to listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, on iHeart. So make sure you are connected so you can be up to date with everything we're doing here at the Captain's Log. Captain Mark, tell me what's going
yes,
on,
sir.
dude. Tell me about this Buddy Davis. It's a dream boat of yours. You finally got it. And this boat, you said 61 feet long?
Yes, sir.
That's a big jump from what you had before.
Yeah, yeah. So I've run multiple big boats in my career. I started kind of on the private side, running some bigger Vikings and whatnot. But I don't want to talk bad about the Viking guys because Viking builds such an amazing production boat. I've run probably 100, if not more than 100 Vikings, and they never let me down. However, when a custom pulls into a marina, everybody stops and looks. And
Mm.
that's always kind of, you've known me for a little while. I like that look, when somebody
Yeah.
stops and goes, wow, what is that? That was my goal, setting out to get the bigger boat. Um, and this one kind of fell in my lap, and then it left, and then it fell back at even a better deal.
Mm.
So we snatched it up. We took 8.5 months on the hard with it, and changed some things. Went after that Jimmy Buffett blue color that everybody knows and loves. I'm not a big fan of the all white big boats, even though they look so much bigger.
Mm.
But in fishing with the Freedom Fighters outdoors and stuff, we fished alongside of Jimmy Buffett's boats for years. And I
Mm.
always said if I got a big custom that unfortunately I was taking his color. So we did. So we did. We painted it up. We actually went through two different boot stripe colors back and forth. Ended up with Notre Dame gold on the bottom. So it's the light blue with the Notre Dame gold. And it just
Wait, 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 wait,
fits.
wait, wait, wait. An Irish color? I thought you were Italian.
I know, but we had black and red boot stripes first, and I let the painter talk me into it. And he
Mm.
painted it and he sent me pictures. I was like, that's not what I. And he's like, really, man, that's crazy because everybody's commenting in the marina. I said, yeah, but I think they might be lying to you. So let's do the gold that I wanted in first place. So he was really cool about it, and we ended up painting the gold on. And again, between that and the teak transom with the gold leaf letters,
Yeah,
it pulled the whole boat together. Being that 90% of our cockpit flooring and everything is teak, so that's a full-time job in its own. That
just
was
to
part of the
maintain that. Yeah.
yeah, the varnish work, uh, you know, it's we kind of judge it by how many drinks you take, throughout the day because it's sun up to sundown. And
Mm.
a lot of these custom guys they appreciate it. And I love watching people walk down the dock and they stop and they go, "Oh wow, that's beautiful.
Mm.
Thanks."
I
It's
I love that. I love walking into marinas and I do it the most when I'm down in the Keys in Islamorada. You go to dinner at Lorelei's, and attached to Lorelei's there's this marina, and you can
yeah,
walk. There's not, because a lot of these marinas, these bigger, nicer boats, have a gate, and you have to have permission. You have to have somebody there, and so you don't have access. But there, you can just walk down and see these bigger sporties and look at them and just dream and go, man, that's so cool. And so I totally get that idea of just seeing these beautiful boats and marinas and walking through. Even my kids, my 5-year-old especially, he loves boats and loves walking through with me. So no, I guarantee you people are stopping and looking at your boat and just
it's
all the
it's
time.
just a
It's
crazy to
awesome.
think that I do it, even though I'm partial to it. It's my boat, but even when I walk up to it sometimes after not seeing her for a couple of days, I'm like, oh, I think I made it. It's kind of it's a cool feeling, especially when you're backing in the marina and you got a whole bunch of flags up the riggers. A little pat on the back, tying
Yeah.
up is a nice feeling.
Hey, explain that. So in the world of offshore fishing and sporties and chasing billfish, when you catch specific fish, you put flags on your outriggers, and that's kind of
Yes.
it's a way to communicate to people. It's not a boastful thing. It's just, hey, this is what we accomplished today. So tell people about that.
So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a boastful thing too. It's always nice to pull in, especially when it's a tournament day and you got multiple boats coming in, and my rigger has more than theirs, and then you see the next guy who's got more than you. It's not always the best feeling. But so typically what you'll see is a lot of the billfish stuff, we fly flags for. Yeah, on my boat we only fly billfish flags, nothing else. But you will see flags right side up or upside down.
Hmm.
So through the years, if you see upside down flags, that means that billfish was released.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
Yes.
keep
So
going.
when you see the upside down flags, that's a release. When you see them right side up, that's supposed to mean that the fish was harvested. However, a lot of guys nowadays, we're going out, we're catching 10 to 15 fish. You kind of forget and just start throwing flags up. So I don't know how much of that pastime is still around. We try
Mm,
to definitely always fly them upside down for us. And then also sometimes you will see a little tiny triangular flag under each of those flags or a couple of those flags. That's when we fly flags for a tag. So that
mm.
fish was released and we put a scientific tag in it.
That's cool. How often are you guys doing that?
Well, in Palm Beach, it's kind of a little tough. I don't want to go on a rant with that, but there is definitely a large number of sharks in the area.
Mm,
So we have to fight with them quite a bit to get just even the fish to the boat, let alone trying to, keep them there while they're tired. It's not really a thing I like to do. I'm trying to keep our fish really alive as much as I can, so we try to, even on charters. I mean, it's cool, the whole picture thing, but our fish do not come out of the water, as per our HMS permit and the FWC, our fish did not come out of the water.
yeah.
We get the fish to the boat. We try to, sometimes even trying to get a hook out is more painful and harder on the fish. So we will at least cut the leader as close we can. We use rust away hooks. I mean, well, they rust and they fall out.
Yeah.
We're a one time use. If the hooks go in the salt water today, they go in the trash tomorrow. So,
Mm,
we try to keep our fish really alive as much as we can, but the sharks are making it really, really difficult to do so. Whereas a couple of years ago it was pretty cool. You could hang the fish on the side of the boat for a little while, take a picture, revive them real good, and it was fine. Now, I mean, the sharks are going right after the fish as soon as they're eating off the kite. So it's kind of
yeah.
wild.
I'm hearing this. I'm hearing this up and down both coasts, but especially on the Atlantic side. And the red snapper on the Atlantic side, they're closing the season. The season is so short. We're talking 48 hours.
Yeah,
And they're talking about even it's Noah's looking at closing all bottom fishing from Daytona Beach or Port Canaveral all the way up to Jacksonville.
right.
And the reason, as they're saying, is the mortality rate. That more fish are dying going up and down, being eaten by sharks or being released and then getting eaten by sharks, than it can sustain the fishery. Now, all of us know who fish offshore that that's not the case for the red snapper. We're catching so many of these things that they're everywhere. But the sharks are a big problem. And I know there's guys like Travis Thompson is one I think about. We got some buddies down in the Keys who sit on boards and they're trying to make that change because we really need to do something about the shark issue. It's everywhere, man. It's terrible.
It's, they're getting so brazen that I can't even run. I used to run strip teasers when we were kite fishing. I can't do that anymore.
Mm,
They come right up and rip them off the side of the boat. And it's not long, even while we're kite fishing. You look right over the back of the boat, and they're just sitting right. I see them. I just see these
yeah.
large blobs on the bottom machine, and then you watch them streak every time you hit a fish. Boom, they run and they grab them, and then they come right back. It's like a dog playing fetch.
Mm,
It's really bad. And then you move, 2 miles up, 2 miles back, whichever way, and there they are again.
yeah.
It just, I'm not sure, what the way to fix it is, but it's definitely hurting our fishery.
Absolutely. Well, I will say, I've only caught one sail. The day that we fished, we hooked three, we jumped three. Uh, but when that fish was boat side, that first sail, the only sail I've caught was boat side. Well, I've caught two, but one was tail wrapped, so we popped the hook, we popped the line because we didn't want to stress the fish anymore.
Hmm.
When we got that one boat side, I have never felt this before, but the way
Hmm.
that sailfish felt, it was like liquid velvet. That's the
Hmm.
only way I can describe it. It was unbelievable. unbelievable. And that feeling, to experience that, that's worth the money. If you're just considering going sail fishing, that's worth the money right there, because the way that felt was like not anything I've ever touched before. It was unbelievable.
So that feeling that you feel right there and how you felt on the boat, right? That translates into the mate, the captain, and the rest of the people. And that is what keeps me going. First time that fish jumps, we have to remind people they're real. Because, oh my God, look at it, look at it. Oh, no, you gotta catch it, man. You gotta catch it. And but that's what keeps us going. That's definitely
Absolutely.
what keeps us going.
Well, hey, this is Captain Jonathan Moss, the Captain's Log Radio, and we get back more with Captain Mark DiDario, so stick around. We'll be right back.
This is the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. So glad you are here. I got Captain Mark DiDario with me. The man is just on fire for offshore fishing out of a sporty. Got two boats, one in Deerfield Beach and one in Panama. Listen to me, Palm Beach. Don't go to Panama. You are going to not find Mark in Panama.
I will not be there.
Palm Beach. Listen, we did an episode together. We were in his OG boat, the 46-footer, and I got to do something I've always wanted to do. My first time out in a Sportfish, I was giddy. I don't think I slept the night before, and I for a while before filming, I wouldn't sleep anyways because I was so excited. Now I'm pretty good about going to sleep, but this particular episode, I was so pumped. I could not sleep. And we get out on this boat, and it's like all my childhood dreams were like coming true. Like, this is happening. And we had a mate with us. TJ was on the boat. Mark's up on the tower driving. And I remember running out the inlet and seeing that boat just come down, hitting the waves and the water hitting the flares on the side of the boat and shooting off. And I was like, this is legit. This is real. We're doing this. We get the outriggers set up, got our spread going, and we caught tunas. First time I'd ever caught tuna before.
Yeah.
We did some bottom fishing using some electric reels. First time I'd ever used electric reels before. We caught some tile fish. I think we caught some mahi that day. Just some kingfish. Like, we're talking good eating fish and some beautiful fish. The iridescence on those skipjack tuna were just unbelievable. And I get into the truck at the end of the day and I call my wife and I was like, all right, I need you to go get some soy sauce, some wasabi. I got the tuna ready to go, baby.
Yeah, you guys were excited. You were calling ahead to you were going to the Keys next.
Yeah, no, you aren't kidding. We
Yeah.
No. We went to the Keys when you were our camera boat operator when we were fishing with Johnny.
Oh,
That's
okay, okay.
that's
All
what we
right.
did the Keys trip. That trip, I got a phone call while we were filming with Johnny. You were running his Pathfinder,
Hmm.
and I was gonna fish the next day in Key West with Captain Nicola Beatty, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey man, where you at?" I was like, "I'm on a boat in Deerfield Beach area," and he's like, "Can you be in Key West in an hour?" And I said, "No, I can't be in Miami in an hour." I was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "You checked the weather?" I'm like, "The weather's perfect." And he's like, "It's changed." I was like, "Uh-oh." So apparently the um the satellites were down all week and they were reporting the wrong weather. And then when the satellites came up, they realized there was a tropical storm about to hit the Keys. So when we got to Isla Morada that night, we hunkered down and it didn't stop raining. That was Friday afternoon. It didn't stop raining till Sunday morning, like 3 in the morning. And we got out on the water. I walked over to Lorelei's up to like knee deep water. And we got on the water in Key West on Sunday morning. That was the day we were supposed to come home. And that was a rough day, dude. Water temp
What's
dropped like 10 degrees. We didn't find any fish. It was a long day for
Oh, I
nothing.
bet. What's crazy is Nick's dad was a race producer for of mine in Englewood, Florida for years.
Huh.
He does a great event over in Englewood. Unfortunately, after all these storms, they haven't had it, but he's put on one heck of a race over there.
Yeah, you did some bro. I'm telling you, Mark, you're doing everything, bro. I mean, you're crushing the sport fish, you're crushing the racing. Tell me about the racing deal. I got into those boats when I was a kid. You're gonna laugh at me. You're probably gonna make fun of me. I don't care. Remember the show Hulk Hogan? It
Yeah,
was
Thunder in
date
Paradise.
Thunder in Paradise. Oh man, he was in that black. Was it a scarab boat or
Yeah, it was a
something?
scarab. Yep, that was a scarab.
Bro, I love that thing, dude. Tell me about the racing.
So I got into it when I lived in New Jersey. Back kind of before I was fishing full time and everything. I had a marine repair shop, and this guy called me up one day. He goes, "Hey man, I really need my race boat fixed. I have a race." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, everybody's got a race boat. You know, anybody with a straight pipe coming out the back has a race boat." I pulled up, and I was a mobile mechanic then, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, looks pretty racy to me." We get it all done, and I'm like, we gotta go see what this thing can do, right? And he goes, "Oh yeah, yeah. Do you know how to throttle it?" And I was like, "I mean, can't be that hard, right?" He's like, "Well, a little harder than it looks, yeah." So we go out, we go ripping it around, and we actually ended up putting the boat up on the marsh. We were taking these turns way too fast, and I wasn't coming out of it. And he's like, "Dude, you have everything you what it takes. You want to go racing with us?" And I was like, yeah, that would be so cool. So I rode around in a navigator spot one time for the Ocean City World Championships. The next year, uh, I had a boat, but it was not a race boat, and then it became a race boat, and kind of raced for years in New Jersey, New York, and all that stuff up there. And
Oh,
as I moved down here, followed the Florida circuit and stuff, and I've met some amazing people, and a lot of my racing friends and buddies and their families have turned into fishing clients. So
oh,
it kind of works out really, really good. It goes hand in hand. I mean, if you're down in the Keys for the World Championships in Key West and the marathon race, you have Jack with two conch boats. He's all over the race course there. I think he even sponsors a boat now.
huh.
Most of the Moorhead, North Carolina, all the fishermen because they closed the inlet there for the racing. They go out and they patrol boat and use them as turn boats. So the fishing community and the racing community kind of go hand in hand when you get into the offshore stuff.
That's awesome, man. Why do they call them cigarette boats?
Well, it's kind of like a jet ski is not really a jet ski. Kawasaki made the jet ski, and Yamaha made the Wave Runner, and you kind of just they blow them all into one thing. Cigarette's a brand. Um,
Oh,
Yeah, cigarette's a brand. So it's one of the longer standing brands out there, still being made today. They'll be unveiling new boats, and the Miami Boat Show is coming up. So it's just a brand that kind of stuck. Um, I don't even know what else to like kind of
okay.
go
Yeah.
with that,
Didn't
but
know
yeah,
that.
it's just a brand.
How long were these boats that you were running? You're racing.
So I was in the smaller classes. Biggest boat we had was 32 feet.
How fast did it go?
That was my first boat I built. I went way too crazy on the engine package. The
You
boat
go
was actually,
crazy?
yeah, the boat was way too fast for itself and for me um and the class that we were in because we were limited to a speed.
Hmm.
But that boat actually came apart in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and we almost sunk that thing at the dock.
Oh,
Yeah, we took a flyer sideways and it blew a hole in the bottom of the boat. So that was the end of that one.
oh, that's nuts, dude. How many
Yeah,
horsepower that thing have?
900 aside, two engines, supercharged.
I think the first time I met you was at ICAST on your way up. You had this F-350 that was jacked up and really
Yeah.
loud. And
Oh
you said,
yeah.
"Yeah, man, I'd have been here earlier, but I got pulled over and got a ticket or something for going too
Multiple tickets.
fast."
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
did
that
think
happened.
big, man. I love it.
Yeah, I've always it's the go big or go home thing. I have a reasoning behind it that, I don't know if we need to get into on here, but more of a family thing. But it's just, you never know. Life's short, right? So
Yeah.
if you have a goal and your dreams aren't, you know, within reach, then you better have bigger dreams. So I feel like if I don't dream real big and kind of off the planet, then it'll never happen.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm doing, man. I'm just pushing, pushing, and pushing, and see what happens and see what gives. And so far, I've been pretty lucky. I've had a lot of awesome people come in my life and have given me guidance and help. I mean, never would have thought I'd have been on TV if I hadn't met you.
Yeah.
And then after that, we did a couple other shows. I've been on a few fishing shows, which have been awesome. Um,
Cool.
we did last year. We fished live, which was insane.
Hmm.
Talk about watching your mouth on live TV while you're bill fishing. It's almost impossible.
Huh.
Uh, but that was a cool experience. But again, I would have never, if I don't dream big and push myself and stuff, it'll never happen.
Yeah.
It'll never happen.
Tell
I
me
mean, look at
about.
you. You got your new boat, right? You always said to me, "Oh, I'm gonna keep this boat forever." And then you got that new little rocket ship now, so you're doing
Bro,
it too.
it is a rocket ship. I was out on the lake today, just getting more hours, breaking the motor in. And I'm finally at 6.5 hours, and I can not run it wide open, but I can get up on plane and I can take off and get up to 5,000 RPMs, and it gets on 5,000 RPMs like on plane, and like I'm going from a 60 to a 90 on still an 8 foot, 18 foot skiff. It
Yeah.
gets up on plane and goes like a sports car, throws you back in your seat. I love it. And spinning around and having the power to push yourself through that turn, bro, it's so much fun. It
A
is a
lot of people
blast to drive.
a lot of people don't understand, just because you have the power doesn't mean you need to use it. But there's a lot of, points and times where that little extra, when docking and wind and current and stuff like that, or get out of somebody else's way,
Yep.
it's necessary.
The
So
thing about
yeah,
where I fish, we have speed bumps. They're called manatees, and they move,
yeah.
and you don't know where they're going to be. So I'll never run that boat wide open when I'm guiding. But having the ability to take off with a heavier load, I take a lot of
Hmm.
trips with me plus three. Having that extra power is fantastic. Or
Right.
and I'm guilty. This happens to me every year. We'll get focused in on a group of tarpon, and my eyes are on those fish. I get tunnel vision, and I forget about the storms. The next thing you know, it's thunder, and I turn around and it's
Oh
black
yeah.
behind me, and I'm like, "We gotta get." So having that extra ability, extra horsepower to get up and go is a huge blessing. But I love boats. I've always loved boats, and I have a love-hate relationship with boats, with much as we're on them and fixing them, but there's just something about being owning your own boat and being on the water and being your own captain. When I first was looking at buying my own boat, I had a family friend was like, "Don't do it, don't do it. Just book a fishing guide and just go out." I was like, "Yeah, I can't go fishing with somebody else every single day. Can't afford that." But I love having a boat. So, hey, we are quickly coming to an end on this segment. When we get back, more of the Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. I got Captain Mark DiDario with me. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This is the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.
Hey, welcome back to the Captain's Log Radio. I'm Captain Jonathan Moss. It's February. It's winter here in Florida, but it doesn't feel like it. I was sweating today. But this time of year, typically you're getting a wintertime sailfish bite. Mark, tell me what's going on in your area. What are people catching? Where do you catching? What are you targeting? And then what can we expect going into spring?
So right now, definitely we're in full sailfish swing. Palm Beach just had the Buck Cup, which it had a record number of sails in 2 days caught. It
Nice.
was probably the perfect storm for sailfish that week, and it was an epic bite. Most people that can't get kites up in the air were still putting up double digit numbers, which
Wow.
was awesome to see. Again, earlier we talked about the shark issue and the fishery. When the big pushes come, it's really nice to see everybody in on it. So that's mainly what my clients are looking for right now. They kind of follow us with the seasons and whatnot. We still get, the swordfish bite's been pretty decent around the moons, and we've had a really good wahoo year. The wahoo have definitely been here. We've
Mm.
found them quite a bit. Multiple fish, in some of these trips, which is even better, and some bigger fish. We put a
Awesome.
couple of 40s in the boat this year, which
Wow.
has been really cool. Yeah, and then one of my first real South Florida yellowfin tuna we caught just after Christmas, which was awesome off the kite.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
uh,
heck yeah.
yeah, that was really cool. We've caught smaller ones, but this one was over 50, so
Mm.
it was a really nice treat. My clients didn't even know. They were like, "Oh, cool, a tuna," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you have no idea how cool this is right now." Then they started to realize it, like as we were getting amped up too. It was pretty cool.
Did it air
So yeah,
out
we're
on the bait?
Yeah, it was. We caught it off the kite. It was cool. It did the roll, and my eyes were like, I did not just see that. That was I know what I saw, but let's just wait to see it get to the boat. Hopefully nothing happens because it's kind of tough when you hook a good fish and then the mate has to hand that rod off to somebody that may have never done it before,
Yeah.
and we kind of joke with some clients, especially the guys from up north, the bass fishermen, got to take it easy. We're not ripping lips off. Want to keep their faces on one piece. So but that's what they're born and bred to do, so
Yeah.
it's really hard. Just like you and I would go live bait fish, somewhere up there, we would, oh, you really got to set the hook, man. It's a total opposite. So, moving forward, we're looking into springtime, when the tunas will start showing up a little bit more. And then we'll roll into summer and hopefully we get a good mahi season and they don't change our regulations and make them bigger. They keep cutting our regulations down and making the sizes bigger, which is a little tough, but we're making it work.
Tell me about the tuna. So we in our area we've got, blackfin tuna, you got the skipjack, you got the yellowfin. What are you seeing? What are you catching the most of? What's the most
Mostly
common?
blackfins.
Mm.
Blackfin definitely lead the pack on that. And then probably the skippies right underneath that. And then we get into our more exotics. We've seen some big bluefins. We fished a ladies tournament
Mm.
last year, and the next thing I know, my mate was on the bow of the boat with a 50 wide and a blue runner. And what are you doing, man? And this thing kept blowing up on the bait. It was a very big fish.
Mm.
But unfortunately, we had some weighable fish, so we didn't want to mess around with them too much. But yeah, the tuna bite is come and go, but when we find them, they're definitely here. They're definitely edible. We keep soy sauce and stuff right on the each boat. On the way in, we always make sure that, especially if they've never done it before. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
freshest fish you're ever going to catch.
Mm.
And put in your mouth is the one that you just hooked 10 minutes before.
Do you bleed out every fish?
We bleed out tunas and wahoos. Not necessarily everything. Some of the bottom fish we will too, like the muttons and stuff like that. We do bleed out. Um, but most of the stuff we don't have to. And we're kind of also tournament raised where we don't bleed out anything because we want the extra weight.
Right. Yeah.
But as long as it's an edible fish and we're gonna take every precaution, for our clients, they go right on ice, they get bled. Sometimes they get gilled and gutted if they're big enough. Uh, you know, we want to make sure that when you leave the boat from us, that you have the best, freshest fish possible.
Let's talk about the reasoning we bleed fish out.
So there's a whole bunch of different reasons I think that people think, but for one, it's the most humane way to end the fish's life. you know, uh, to stick it with a gaff and then throw it in the cooler and it stresses itself out, it'll actually stress the meat out as well. so you get a different flavor out of that fish. And we've tested theories on it, and it is 100% true. Even minutes. I'm talking, you gaff the tuna, bring it in the boat, let it sit there, take some pictures. I'd rather bleed the fish out first, and then you take the pictures later, unless it's something really epic that you want that special color or something in it. Because as soon as you start bleeding out, the fish lose all its color.
Hmm.
But the meat, the fish, basically you have a heart, it has a heart attack. So everything is stressed out. Um, we've run into where the meat becomes soft, where the meat becomes too hard. Or you get, around the gaff area, it starts to coagulate the blood. So you ruin a nice, real big chunk of meat because that fish is trying to heal the wound already. The easiest way is to just bleed them and end it right away. There's definitely different types of ways. For us with the tunas, we'll just bleed them out right there, cut the gills out. The mahi, you can stick that, I call it the coat hanger, right up that tailbone there, and you can end them that way. Or if they're the bigger ones, you could do the head spike too. We
Hmm.
try to be relatively humane as we can with these fish. They're the ones helping us make money
Oh,
and put food
absolutely.
on the table. So, they're sacrificing themselves for us. So
Yeah.
we want to keep it that way.
Now, do you put the fish just on ice, or is it a saltwater ice bath?
We do both. Some of your bottom fish, like when we tile fished, remember when we filleted them at the end? It was what, 2 hours later, and they were still kicking because we were
Yeah.
dropping their temperature back down. So yeah, we try to do the ice bath with salt water as much as possible. Plus, if you depending on what your ice and where your ice came from, you have chlorine and all this other stuff that in the
Mm.
ice. We make our own ice down south. My family has an ice maker, and we have a water filter. But when we buy ice at marinas and stuff, you don't know the fluoride and the chlorine and
Yeah.
everything in there can actually damage the fish itself. So putting the salt water in there can neutralize a lot of that as well.
Huh. That's interesting. I've heard guys talk about not even cleaning, like when you fillet your fish and you're cleaning the fish off. Don't even use
Yes,
fresh water on these saltwater
correct.
fish. Only using salt water.
Same principle too. You're putting different chemicals and stuff on meat that you're going to put in your mouth. It can start, some of the highly chlorinated water can start cooking the fish
Huh.
early. So, your spoil rate is also going to be a lot higher.
That's very interesting. And this is what you do every day in, day out, doing the experiments and testing it and making sure. I love that. That's you are I'm of the mindset of if I'm going to kill an animal or a fish, I want to make sure that I am using every bit of it and I don't want to
Hmm.
waste anything. And if I'm going to kill it and I'm going to eat it, I definitely want the meat to be the best quality it can possibly be. And so taking
Yeah.
those steps makes a huge difference.
So even when we fillet our fish, we try to use everything possible. So we'll clean the skeletons off and put them in Ziploc bags. Then we translate that into our live bait food while we keep live bait,
Hmm.
in the bait pens, especially getting them ready for tournaments. We got to feed them, get them nice and healthy. So when they're out there swimming around on the end of our kite or flatline, they're doing their job, and they're doing it well. Also, too, we have a lot of different ethnicities in our area. Um, my dock hands up in Palm Beach, they're some of the best guys. They come running when that boat comes in the marina, and their wives love the fish heads. So I will sit there, and we have a little mini trash can at the end of the day. We put all the fish heads, and then we let them fight over who's taking what. But those guys, again, they're they don't want to let anything go to waste. They're using everything,
Yeah.
making fish head soup. We try to make it the best. Like I said again, it's like a veteran fighting for our freedom. These guys, these fish are helping us sustain our lives, our family, and then our customers as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned the color coming out. I think about mahi, those colors are just unreal.
Hmm.
And sometimes they'll change even from the green and yellow to the silver and blue. They're just unbelievable fish. And one of the fastest growing fish in the ocean. You mentioned that they're considering the size limit change. You'll catch a fish that's 18 inches long and it's not even a year old. Like it's unbelievable how quickly they grow.
Well, I'll tell you a really quick story and how I met Wes with the dolphin research program was everybody knows Michelle Dalton Bombshell. We were out fishing a trip on her boat and we got into a floater with had, I mean, countless mahis on it. We were bailing a couple fish in the boat, and later on we realized that one was tagged.
Hmm.
It was very much a legal fish, and so I cut the tag off, contacted Wes, and he had told us where that fish was caught 4 days prior to where we caught it,
Wow.
which
Wow.
was, yep, it was in the Marquesas off Key West,
Huh.
and it was not legal 4 days prior.
And it was legal that day, 4 days
We
later.
caught in Boynton Beach.
Wow. When I fished with Chris Lemieux out of Boynton, we tagged some mahi for the dolphin fish program.
Hmm.
Very, very cool. And that tagging, the research you get from doing that is unbelievable. And that's crazy to hear that 4 days that fish swam from the Marquesas all the way
Hmm.
to Boynton and went from illegal size to keep to legal.
Yeah,
Mark, that's just really, really cool. Thanks for being here on the
of
Captain's
course.
Log Radio. People want to book you. Where do they go?
Yes, it's father and AND spelled out, sonsportfishing.com. You can find us on Father and Son Sport Fishing on Instagram. We're pretty much everywhere you can find you.
Well, Mark, so good to have you. Thanks for being here. Captain Mark
Yes,
DiDario
sir.
from Father and Son Sportfishing.com. Check them out. This is Captain Jonathan Moss and the Captain's Log Radio. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to the Captain's Log Radio with your host, Captain Jonathan Moss.